I own an accounting firm. I've owned an accounting firm for decades, and we help businesses and their owners succeed. Our job is to help them grow it, scale it, exit when they're ready to exit, but also building wealth at the same time, making smart decisions.
The thing that I did best in law school was business associations, right? And so learning about like how to structure businesses and how to set them up and all these different things. And what was always really interesting to me is that so many business owners, especially small business, they don't realize like how easy it is to pierce the corporate veil, right? So the concept of you do have to keep your entities a little bit separate, right? Because if you do get sued, if you do have something bad happen, then now they can sort of argue that your personal funds and your business funds are one and the same. And so you always have to kind of think that through. And I think so many times, I guess in general, we don't think about how interlinked our lives are, our money is, our jobs, our businesses, whatever that may be.
It's completely linked. One totally affects the other. And you're right, people pierce the corporate veil constantly. Amazing to me that so many people just don't take the time to sit back and just do that big picture kind of plan.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Financial Mastery Simplified. I am your host, Jax Crider. Today we have Miss Rachel on, and she's an expert in a lot of the aspects of money space, kind of more in the accounting, bookkeeping, scaling, growing business aspect. And so super excited to have you today, Rachel. Tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and why you're excited to be on the show today.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I own an accounting firm. I've owned an accounting firm for decades, and we help businesses and their owners succeed. Our job is to help them grow it, scale it, exit when they're ready to exit, but also building wealth at the same time, making smart decisions. So whether that be in the business that goes into their personal or in the personal that also will affect their ability to grow and exit into the business in the right way.
I love that. Well, and yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to sort of say that because a lot of people, especially if they are business owners, they don't realize, I mean, it's sort of like one entity, but not like for the purposes of taxes, as you know, and like legal reasons and things of this sort. Like, yes, they have to be separate entities. Yes, they have to have like separate financial structures, separate, kind of aspects this way, but they are a lot more interly linked than, people understand. You don't know this about me, but I actually have a law degree. And the thing that I did best in law school was business associations, right? And so learning about like how to structure businesses and how to set them up and all these different things. And what was always really interesting to me is that so many business owners, especially small business, they don't realize like how easy it is to pierce the corporate veil, right? So the concept of you do have to keep your entities a little bit separate, right? Because if you do get sued, if you do have something bad happen, then now they can sort of argue that your personal funds and your business funds are one and the same. And so you always have to kind of think that through. And I think, so many times, I guess in general, we don't think about how interlinked our lives are, our money is, our jobs, our businesses, whatever that may be.
It's completely linked. One totally affects the other. And you're right, people pierce the corporate veil constantly. It's a constant battle for me to go, no, no, you can't do it that way. Do it like this. Pay yourself, take a distribution, and then go and do whatever you want with the money. But it's amazing to me that so many people just don't take the time to sit back and just do that big picture kind of plan, even if it's just a plan of action and not a full financial plan. Sit back, go, what do you need to make? Once you know what you need to make, we can back into what your sales need to be, and then you have a goal to hit. And we can break it down into months and weeks and all of those things. And when do you want to retire? How much do you need? Your financial planner will tell you that, but then we go, okay, have you started? If not, okay, here's the plan of action. We need you to do this so we can put this in here. While we're doing this one thing to build your retirement plan, if we have a business owner, we can do that within the company and save on the taxes at the same time. So they're getting that double win, that win-win that we love so much.
Well, and I think that the truth is first of all, a lot of times when people start a small business, it isn't like, okay, I'm quitting my corporate job and I'm starting a small business. A lot of times they're kind of sort of started up in concert, right? Like you have a corporate job and you start a small business, maybe because it's like a passion project, or maybe because you're looking for a way to exit set corporate business, right? Like set corporate job, maybe because of necessity, right? Like we need some extra funds like flowing into our homes. And so we start a side business, right? A side hustle. And so a lot of times it's super easy. I mean, I even find myself sometimes not being as intentional with a plan or with the thought process of, how to do that. And I talk a lot on the podcast about mentality and intentionality and, doing those things. But sometimes it's really easier said than done, right? Because it's just so many balls in the air, so many things running around. But to your point, a lot of times financial mastery doesn't necessarily come down to how many dollars and cents you're making or how you are even spending them, but how are you figuring out like what the plan is? Like do you even have a clue like what kind of numbers you need to make? Like you said, like how many sales do you need? So you have this idea, you have this number. Okay, like how do you back into that?
Well, and it's even more than that. What's success look like for that business owner or that person, even if they're in a regular job and it's just their side hustle because they're passionate? What does success look like? So I deal with a lot of business owners, and obviously I'm a female, but I went to an all women's college, and we're always talking about, first of all, money's not bad. So mentally, we have to get over that. It's okay to have money. It's also okay to go out on your own, not because of the financial reason. You might be passionate, or you might just want flexibility for your family. I want to be able to go and do, as a business owner, I was able to be there for my kids when they went to camp in the morning. And by the time they got off, I was able to take off for every little stupid, play and concert and little thing they were doing. Oh, it's a field trip tomorrow. Can you go? Yes, absolutely, I can go. So, what success looks like, it's not always a dollar figure. It might be a combination. It might be, I want to be completely out of debt by the time I want to sell and retire, and I have X amount in the bank so that I can take care of my kids. Great. So, it's a package. And then having a system so that you can get to that end result. So one of the reasons that we started talking was Profit First. So we're mastery certified in Profit First. We were the 2024 Profit First Firm of the Year because obviously I talk about it a lot. And we do it personally as well as with the company ourselves. Mike just came out with his new Money Habits book, which is basically Profit First for individuals. So we're getting certified
Nice.
in that because we live this and breathe this. It's basically a way to easily put it in there that if you have a commitment, you will always be profitable, you will always be successful, you'll always build wealth. Simple and easy, and it just teaches you how to make that better decisions. It's ultimately what it's about.
Make sure you explain what Profit First is. I mean, I know what it is because I have heard people talk about it and, all that good stuff or whatever, but people listening may or may not know or understand sort of like what the concept is behind it and sort of why it exists.
So, Profit First is a book written by Mike Michalowicz. He is the original author of it. And basically, it's a cash flow management method for businesses. It stands by to build your healthy habits. Like when you want to lose weight, what do? You eat healthier, you eat smaller portions, you exercise, you do all these things. Well, in a business, you might open different bank accounts, and then you allocate those bank accounts for the set purposes. And then you run your business with what's left over. So what that does is it causes you to make better decisions, be innovative, and do all the things purposefully. Okay. So I talk a lot about commitment and purpose and intentionality because ultimately that's what we're doing. We're doing it on purpose. So in this method of madness, as I like to call it, you have choices that come up because life happens, business happens. So I've written three of his derivative books. And when I wrote the first one, it was not because I ever wanted to write a book, because I've never wanted to write a book. It was a conversation I was having with Mike, and he's like, "You should write a book." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm good." And he's like, "No, you really should write a book." Because I take it from a business point of view of, should you be an entity? Should you have partners? These are the things you need to look at. It's not just dollars and cents. So it's different. But like in my books, I always use the example of I went to buy a car, and I always wanted a Tesla since the day it came out, and I was really excited about it. And after I started putting healthier processes in my business, I got to the point where like, okay, I can buy this Tesla. So my husband and I went down to Tesla to go test drive it. And I was like, okay. it's good, but we're kind of a Honda family. Before I make a decision, let's just go down the block to the Honda dealer and test drive that, Honda Accord, top of the line model, and just make sure. And I ended up buying the Honda, not because it was better or worse than the Tesla, but the Tesla was $64,000. My Honda was 39. And I kept thinking, the devil and the angel on your shoulders. Well, for me, it's Mike because I know him and I hear his voice in my head. And
That's
I
awesome.
heard him go, "You drive 12 miles to work. That's it. It's the only thing you do in the car. It's 12 miles. Is it worth that money?" And I was like, I'll just buy the Honda. But it's also not about doing things without, not getting
Right.
what you want. So what I did was I opened another account, put the extra money in there through the method, and then 2.5 years later, I went and bought my Tesla that I wanted without having a cash flow issue at all because the money was already there.
Right. Well, and I think that's the whole thing too is, right? Like, so I talk to people all the time about choose your heart because the truth is that one thing is not better or worse. It actually drives me crazy. And I was talking to another guest here, I don't know, several days ago about how Dave Ramsey and Suze Orman's attitude just drives me absolutely insane
They
because
go too far.
it's so restrictive and it's so like this is how it is and basically you need to be eating beans and rice until you can pay for everything in cash type of attitude and it's like that's so unrealistic. Like you can't survive in today's society and like have this kind of attitude. Like yeah, we might have like moments of like that in life where life is kind of being extra hard and like maybe it necessitates this like very uncomfortable situation that we have to deal with a couple months or a year or something like that, but like nobody can sustain that long term. Like and sustain it and enjoy it, right? Like have a life that they look back on and they say, man, I was really in a great spot and I really enjoyed like what I did and how I lived and nobody wants that. And so I always tell people, look, it doesn't matter. I mean, I've got friends that drive a car that's 20 years old, right? Paid off, totally happy with it, not super nice of any way, like the car, but they're fine with that. And then I have friends that drive super expensive luxury, like top of the line, every bell and whistle kind of vehicles. And, I've owned kind of everything in between. And so, for instance, like when I decided on the last car that I wanted, I also have driven Hondas for a few reasons, but like it's so funny because my reasons are I need a car that's a workhorse. I'm not going to be one that is ever going to want to take my car to the shop all the time. If like lights are going off, it stresses me out. I don't like it. So I can't have that kind of car. You know what I mean? The ones where like the bells and the whistles and the lights are going off. Like I can't do it. My brain will like be like alert alert, the thing is going off, the bells, the whistle. I can't do it, no thank you. But I also wanted something that had enough luxury features, right? Like push button start and heated seats. Like I needed some of those kind of aspects and features in my car because that was important to me, right? It was important to me to have a little the actual entertainment system because like when we go on kind of like road trips, like having the ability to watch a movie if we want to watch a movie like as a group or whatever, right? So like a lot of times when I'm talking to people is I'm like, look, you have to just like walk yourself through, right? Like what is it that you actually want? And really sit down and intentionally think about it because a lot of times you're going to find that what you are saying that you want isn't really it.
Hmm.
There's some other motivation there happening, right? Something that happened in your childhood, somebody in your family or a friend or something told you you should want that. Society said that you should want that, an advertisement, whatever it is. And I'm like, guys, that's not real mastery, right? Because that isn't even something you wanted for like a real reason. Because I don't care. I mean, you can want, I don't know, whatever the top of the line car is, that's like $1 million or whatever. Like, if that's what you want and that's your goal, like all power to you, baby. Like, I'm going to be the cheerleader in the background, like cheering you on and like do the thing. Please understand and make sure that you actually want it. And then if you actually get the $1 million car, that you were actually excited about that. And that's like what you actually wanted. Because it'd be
Yeah.
pretty
And
disappointing if you got it and then you're like, oh, just kidding. I didn't really even like it.
yeah, it's not that great. And you're right, because it works both ways. It's not just upvaluing, you're going from a Honda to a luxury or not. Because I actually went back from my Tesla to a Genesis, which I absolutely adore and, has all the bells and whistles and all of those things. But I find a lot when it comes to, for instance, their housing. So everybody's upsizing their housing, their neighborhoods, and doing these things, whether or not they really need to. And then they get to this point and they're like, okay, I have to downsize. Well, do you really have to downsize? Are you happy in your house? You're already paying it off. Maybe you get to the point where you're going to pay it off, or they get stuck in that trap. So it's, you know, things that I've done. When my kids went to college, we went into a townhouse. And then I was like, well, this isn't quite me. I know we wanted to downsize, but so then we went into a small house, and then I went, it's not quite right. I need to go a little bit further. And because my kids are adults and now I have grandchildren, I now went to my husband this last year and I went, we need a bigger house. And he's like, we're two people. I'm like, no, no, the grandkids are going to come for a month. They need their own room. They need their own bathroom, and
Yeah.
all the things. So I was like, as much as you want in your head, this is what you're supposed to do. This is how generational living began. So I wanted personally enough room for everyone to come and stay comfortably. So not because I think they're ever going to move in forever, but when they do come, we're all just coexisting very nicely together. So for me, luckily where I live, the housing has appreciated very well. So I moved the money from that one into the next one, into the next one. So my mortgage is the same, but I've upsized my housing instead of downsized at the point where everyone else is going, shouldn't you be going into a townhouse? And I'm like, no, I've done that. It's not really my thing.
I talk because first of all, of course, I work in mortgage, right? So I talk a fair bit about, what this looks like. And one of the things that when we talk to our clients that we encourage them to do is start thinking about things like this because I give the example of myself and my brother a lot. So my brother is a minimalist. He has zero desire to own a million things. Like he wants to own a few very, very high end things. That's sort of the way he operates and lives his life and whatever. And so he and his wife have 4 kids between the ages of 11 and 3 and they live in like 1900-ish square feet. It is I think officially considered because I think their office doesn't have an actual closet, so I think it's technically considered 3 bedroom, 3 bathroom house. And all 3 of his boys stay in the same room, and at least now they're okay with that. I don't know how that'll look, moving forward, but that's what it looks like right now, in all these different aspects. And the thing about it is he's really good with that. I was a single person living in a 1550 square foot house, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and it was barely enough space for just me. And so when my husband and I started, he has 3 daughters from his previous marriage. And so when we got together, whatever, I was like, oh no, like we have to have a bigger house. And we moved to that house and we substantially have upsized, like to the point where we actually are in a huge, huge house. Everyone thinks we're crazy. We live in a 10,000 square foot house. And for a lot of people, that's way too much house. And there's moments and times it's a little bit of much house for us too, I'd say. But as a general rule, it really doesn't bother me. I'm a maximalist. I like to have a house full of people. I like to have, we have housed at one point in time, we had a full live in nanny. We had another lady and she had her little daughter and they lived there. I had 2 of my stepdaughters, myself, my husband, and then our baby. And we all lived in that house and we were very comfortable. We had all of our own spaces. Like it was perfectly fine, really a good situation. And so I think a lot of times when people have these societal rules about what's too big or too small or too this or too that, it's kind of a ridiculous thought, right? Because definitely not always that stuff is the right thing and the right fit. But my parents recently went through this for exactly that reason. My parents had a whole conversation if they should downsize, and they, in fact, were even under contract to buy a house that was a lot smaller. But my mom is interior design, and I'm secretly going, I have no idea how you're downsizing into less than half the square footage that you've been in for over 30 years, but okay. And I encouraged them like whatever they wanted, and it ended up not working out. It ended up falling out. And I honestly think it was for the better because, yeah, they don't need all that space for sure. But my mom still likes to host events. My mom still has almost every Easter, Christmas, all these different things at her house if it's not at my house. And so, it's just a lot of people are going through and they're making decisions based on what they think they should want or they should need, or some guru told them that this is the way that it should be. And that drives me absolutely batty because I think it should be more about where you are at financially, right? Because the reality is yeah, some people, affording like more right now may not be in the cards, right? And so how do we keep, create the plan to get you to that level, right? Does it mean you rent a little bit longer, save a little bit more money so you can get there that way? Does it mean you start out in a smaller house and we turn this house into a rental property so then, you can help afford, the next house or whatever, or make equity and then transfer that equity to next? I mean, there's so many different choices and there's so many different options and there's not a right choice. But instead of like thinking this through and taking a pause because our society is moving so fast, they are just gonna throw some things up against the wall and hope to God it sticks and then be pissed off and overwhelmed and upset when it doesn't work out. And I'm like, I mean, no offense, but how did you think that was going to work out? Like, you didn't even take the time to ask yourself, like, what you wanted, much less consult any real expert like you or I who actually care about what your money looks like and your financial future and your financial success. So, I mean, no offense, but play stupid games, win stupid prizes on that front.
Absolutely. And we see that all the time. I mean, I'm from up north and moved down to Florida, and we see people just, okay, I'm going to move to Florida. Okay, what are you going to do? Do you have a job? Because you still need to work at this point. What is your intention? And they just, I'll figure it out when I get there. And then it's not always what they think. And then you have the people who are sitting and miserable. And I have a few clients that are sitting up north with all the snow this year going, why am I here? And I ask them the same question. Why are you there? Where do you want to be? So I moved down to Florida in 2017. We knew we'd come here to retire someday. But I was like, you know what? Why do I have to wait? I don't want to wait. I don't want to do the winters anymore. I just want to, I still want to work. I still want to help people and have my life, but I want to do it better for me. To me, that's success. And so we started coming down and I bought a house and we were doing that. My husband goes, wait, I thought we were doing this when we were going to retire. I'm like, that's like saying I'm going to take care of my health after I'm dead.
Right.
What's the point? Let's enjoy it now while we can. And we try to instill that in everything that we do, including, my practice with my team. We don't work till 4 o'clock in the morning in tax season. Like our drop dead is 10:30 at night and it's only 3 days a week. That's it. We're out. We get to live a life. We get to be happy just like our clients do. We're trying to use the same things that we do for ourselves with our clients. We want them to have time with their kids. We want them to take the cruise and to go to Disney World and have a good time and not have to worry about it. That's the goal. Everybody gets to live the life they want the way they want it by setting that intention, making the goal, and then we help them get there.
Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message from our sponsors.
Imagine having the power to control your financial destiny, no matter where you start. Welcome to the Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform, where financial education is tailored to your unique journey. We cover everything you need, from basic budgeting and saving strategies to advanced investing and retirement planning. Learn at your own pace with lessons that match your level of experience. Whether you're a beginner or looking to enhance your financial knowledge, join our community of learners and benefit from shared insights and expert guidance. The Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform equips you with the skills and confidence to take charge of your financial future. Ready to master your finances? Enroll in our courses today at the Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform. Start your path to financial independence now.
Visit us at fms.tips and fms.college for more information.
Hello and welcome to PBJ Mortgage, where your home ownership dreams become reality. Today, we want to share why choosing PBJ Mortgage is the right choice for your home financing needs. At PBJ Mortgage, we're built on a foundation of values that drive us every day. Our commitment to educate, empathize, and empower our clients sets us apart in the mortgage industry. Our clients are at the heart of everything we do, and their success stories speak volumes. With years of experience, our team possesses in-depth knowledge of the mortgage programs, ensuring you receive expert guidance and the best possible rates. We offer a diverse range of loan options to suit your unique needs, including conventional, FHA, VA, and more. No matter your situation, we've got a solution. At PBJ Mortgage, we pride ourselves on providing personalized service. Our dedicated loan officers are here to guide you every step of the way, making the process as smooth as making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We understand that time is of the essence, which is why we've streamlined our processes for efficiency and convenience. Transparency and clear communication are paramount. You'll always know where you stand throughout your mortgage journey. Reach out to us today to set up a call to discover your options. If you're ready to make your home ownership dreams a reality, contact PBJ Mortgage today. Let us empower you during this exciting journey. Phone number 4-693-733-107 www.pbjteam.com. Visit our website or give us a call to get started. We look forward to helping you secure your future home. PBJ Mortgage, where home begins.
Thanks for your patience.
Yeah, and I think that there's a practice that I think a lot of people don't do. So I think it has been very in vogue of late to make a big, yearly goal or something like that, right? Like having a yearly word and intention. And I have that, and I think that's amazing, right? And I tell my girls all the time, and this is something that I started practicing in my 20s, is I would literally physically write down some really huge, big goals, right? Like, I mean, we're talking about knew that I probably couldn't reach them in a year or 2 years, maybe 5 or 10 or whatever. So write down some of those kind of goals. And then also write down a ton of other small things that I could accomplish, like pretty quickly, pretty easily, right? Whether it be that this credit card that I maybe get a little out of hand, I was going to pay it down to 0 or whatever, right? And so like that became like one of my intentions and whatever, because what I think a lot of times happens too is we don't really feel financially successful or feel like we have any mastery in our lives because we're not celebrating any small wins or even giving ourselves opportunities to create small wins. And so even though we may be kind of accidentally falling into that, right? So like we had a scenario and we got a bonus check. And so we just paid off that small credit card or whatever, because we never set the intention that that's what we wanted to do with that. Like we never physically wrote it out and said like, this is my intention. This is what I wanted to do. And then go through the process of like checking off the box and like scratching it through. We are not then celebrating that. Well, you're not going to feel like you're holding success or mastery if you are not celebrating the wins, because it's super easy to beat yourself up about the things that you're not doing well financially. And you don't know this scenario, but this large house that we own, we actually got into a little bit of a financial situation where, because our industry had slowed so much because of a lot of outside life circumstances that sort of came upon us in one big swoop, aka a company letting us go all at one time. My daughter being in the NICU for 47 days and being self-employed, like, all these things at one kind of blow. That kind of took a little bit of a financial hit. So we decided we were going to sell the house. Great. Went under contract. We don't know who. It was either the buyer, the buyer's agent, or the inspector left a half-bath water running. It ran for 3.5 days, did over $500,000 of damage to the house. And so now we find ourselves in this horrible financial situation and turmoil that, basically damn near bankrupted us. Okay. And so obviously with me being in the money space, me understanding money so well, first of all, definitely not my proudest moment. A lot of imposter syndromes happening in the back end of this, right? Like, oh my gosh, like how could I let this happen? But having to remind myself that a lot of it was outside of my control, right? Maybe some of it was in my control, but most of it was not. And then also now coming out of it and climbing back out of it, right? Because like that's kind of in the process of where we're at the moment. Okay, so now what, right? Well, guess what? Like, as I'm having to climb out of these things and settling out some of these debts and starting to make more money and putting things in the right place, I'm having to remind myself of the good things that I am doing, right? Like, check, I did this thing and it was good. Because trust me when I say, when you are getting knocked on the door with a process server trying to sue you for a debt that you do and it's not like that is lost on you. It's a crappy feeling, right? Like it definitely doesn't feel like mastery. It doesn't definitely feel like you're living the life that you want to be at. But on the same token, just because something bad happened, just because something hard happened, it doesn't mean that I'm not doing things well. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to reach my goals or that I'm not going to be exactly where I want to be. It just means that there were a couple of steps backwards that now have to be remedied, so to speak. And so when we are talking about, some of these kind of aspects and how we, think through this mentality, right? And try to, profit first mentality, because that's actually something that I've had to institute a lot personally because it's really hard for me. Because I was raised, you always pay debt first, right? Like you always pay your responsibilities first. And so in the situation, the scenario, I couldn't have done that even if I wanted to. Like that wasn't even a choice, right? Because we literally wouldn't have been able to eat, period. Like that wouldn't have even been an option. And so you just have to remind yourself too that sometimes when lifes and things don't go according to plan, we have to remind ourselves that we don't hold our worth in some of this crap that has happened. And how do we give ourselves the small wins to set ourselves back up for success, keep ourselves down the path of mastery?
Well, and it's even within this framework of profit first, and I've been doing it for years. We don't just set the one goal. Yes, we set goals, but I don't do it because it's the New Year's. But every quarter with the profit first, you're looking at it. And whether your goal with that money is to pay down debt, go on a cruise, whatever it is, I always tell my clients, you need that win. So if you want to pay down that debt, great. But I want you to take enough to go to a really nice steak dinner and celebrate it.
Right,
You
exactly.
need to do it. Mentally, you need it because it keeps you flowing. And then I love to look back at the end of the year. What did we accomplish during the year? And personally, I've been doing the 12-week year. So that's actually made huge progress. So I look back on a quarter and then I look back on a year. But I always look back like 3 to 5 years too. Where was I back then? Because it's so easy to go, I know at some point I struggled, but how long has it been? So like my team will talk to the clients as well as myself, and they're like, I can't believe how far you've come. We have a landscaper client who's about to sell, and traditionally they can't sell for anything. So it's just the equipment and stuff. Well, this guy's got a $4 million business, and we've been working for decades together, and we've built it, intentionally doing certain things. And he can sell because he's not doing the work anymore. And he's done all the great things he can do. And he's like, you know, I always planned on closing it down. He goes, I financially can do that because of the things we've put into place. And he runs a healthy business and we've saved him for retirement and all of these things. Everybody's protected, but he doesn't have to because he actually built a healthy, sellable business. So it works on both sides. But we sat down, it was just last week. We sat down and we went, look how far you've come. And he goes, I always forget what it was like back then. When I met him, he had 5 people working for him and he was out in the trenches. Like it's huge strides and it's amazing. And I love doing that with the clients because they never remember. They never remember, look, I was doing this.
I mean, it's hard for us even really to see the progress even over like a year or two, right? I mean, much less 5 or 10 and stuff like that. And actually what's really interesting to me is because I'm always my own worst critic and I'm not always great about going back and looking at some of the big things that I've accomplished. And the crazy part is what has helped me more than anything is as I've gotten asked to be in magazines or, be a part of an anthology, a book anthology, or be these different, awards or boards I've asked to, join and some things like this, as I start to post about them, on like Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, and other people like, kind of remind me of the things, and then they pop up on Facebook, right? They pop up and say, oh, like, hey, remember what's happening a year ago? Remember what's happening 2 years ago or 5 years ago? And it's a good reminder. I'm like, oh yeah, wow, look, I mean, that's what I was doing back then. And so, I think that it's so important for people to take the time, take the opportunity as they're sort of coming into their own to look back, to not be afraid to see all of those things that have happened, all the things that we've overcome, all of the things that we've done. And I love how intentional profit first is, right? That is a thing, in my opinion, that is really amazing about it, because I feel like as a general rule, accounting and bookkeeping is kind of a 4-letter word, right? It kind of just feels like somebody who is the big negative Nelly, like shaking their finger at you, right? Like, no, you can't spend that. No, you can't do that. No, whatever. Whereas I think it is a lot more of an attitude of, so here is where we are, and where are you looking to be, and making sure that we are setting you up for success, but within reasonable bounds, right? I mean, because obviously we'd all love to, have a business that was making us $3 or $4 million a year, but that doesn't happen in 2 minutes, likely. Even as much as
Right.
social media may make it seem like that. I guarantee you, trust me when I say I'm a content creator for my business. I do a lot of content. I have been doing video for, gosh, 3 years, I think, 3.5 years at this point. And I'm not saying that I don't have a fair bit of views, but if you look like on how long it has taken to get to people actively watching the stuff over and over. I mean, it is not like overnight you went from 0 to, even 500 followers, right? Like it takes time. And so people so often forget that.
They do, and it's so easy to forget, and it's easy to discount how far you've come and how far you're going towards whatever that picture is of success. I remember working umpteen amount of hours, many, many overnights at the office, even some blurring into the next day every single tax season, and I don't do that at all anymore. We would not take a vacation unless it was going to a relative's house for like a long weekend. And that was the life we were living. And now, if you ask any of my friends, we're constantly going away. Not because I take off all the time, but I can if I need to.
Right.
And we're mobile. The world has changed. So if I wanted to go away and go to Colorado for a week and I still am going to work 2 days, I just take my laptop with me and I go and I do what I need to do. And that's helped me travel the world and take time off and spend time with my family when I want it. And now my grandkids, when, they're going to have events, my daughter's already like, hey, there's this thing. I'm like, I'll be there, no problem. So that's the success for me. Do I want to work till I drop dead? Absolutely not. I'm not ready to give up what I do. I love it too much. So we're going to keep building and intentionally helping people so they're doing what we're doing. And we're all just going to be happy together. That's the goal.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I always joke that I will work to the day I die, not because I need the money or anything like that, but because I genuinely enjoy. I mean, my whole aim and goal in life is to help people financially succeed. The way that I handle it obviously is very different than you, in the sense of like I'm dealing with it on the mortgage side, on like that, kind of trying to help them build wealth through that piece, if that's something that is their aim, and or like through the coaching course platform aspect of like helping set you up for success through some of the mentality piece, like how do we get over some of the blocks and the things that we're holding back that are not allowing us to feel like money is a good thing, or maybe we're spending it in such a way that we have guilt or shame surrounding that, right? Or we're holding on to it, we're tighter than Dick's hat band because we had that kind of instilled into our frame as children, or whatever the case may be, right? To kind of help people expand themselves and grow. But I don't think they'll ever not do that, whether it be like writing a book or talking, having a podcast. Like, I just can't imagine what my life would look like without trying to help pour into people in that respect, just because I do enjoy it so much, right? And I just genuinely like helping people financially succeed. And I think that if people are listening to this and that's not where they're at, because obviously you have two people who are on this podcast who are super passionate about what we do for a living, super passionate about those things, I would seriously encourage you to look at what are you really passionate about, because I guarantee you in this day and age you can make money doing it. I mean, heck, if we live in a day and age and an era where you can make money playing video games, I swear, then you can make money literally doing anything, right? Like legitimately.
Absolutely.
I'll never forget when my girls, when they were in like high school and stuff, were telling me that that was a real job at that point, because people were starting to get paid for like doing Fortnite and stuff like this. And I was like, wait, what? I'm like, somebody is paying people to play video games? I'm very confused. Like, how is this a real job? I don't understand. But it is, right? And there's so many different choices and options. I think though, instead of people sitting down and trying to think that through and figuring out how to do that or how to expand that, they're just so focused on like, how do I make a quick buck, right? How do I put enough money into my family? And I get that, because it is a scary feeling, like when you don't feel like you have enough. And right now, I feel like more people than not are freaking out because the economy has had so many shifts. There's been a lot of upheaval and changes, lots of layoffs, lots of uncertainty with the future of AI and how it's going to affect the job market, right? And there's like a lot of uncertainty. But somebody asked me a long time ago, because in mortgage, even when you work for a company, you're basically self-employed, you're 100% full commission.
Hmm.
People asked me a long time ago, like, how do you do that? How do you have a job where you don't know what you're getting every single check? And I said, there's only one thing that I've ever had control over in life, and it's me. And so I bet on me because I can't control what that company is going to do. I can't control what the market is going to do. I can't control fill in whatever the other blank is. But you know what I can control? I can control my energy, my effort, my output, my passion. Like I can control these aspects, these things. And so, yeah, I'm going to bet on me.
Well, and life happens, business happens, right? You pivot.
Exactly.
You're not stuck. And if you're doing something you're passionate about, you pivot within the passion. So you keep going and you move forward. And if you're committed to having whatever the life is that you want, you're making those intentional steps along the way. And I mean, I had business partners for years and it went through its cycle and we were like, we're not happy together anymore. It's time. We need to split and I'll go my way and you'll go yours and there's no hard feelings. And I'm super happy now, whereas I wasn't so happy back then. And I run the firm completely different from the way we did it back then. And, for me, it was about having a place for people to come to work that they could live the life that I wanted to live back then. And I couldn't, you know. And my team will tell you, I threaten them if it's after 10:30 in tax season, I'm like, I'm turning off the Wi-Fi. You're out. You're done. Go home. And they're like, but one more. I'm like, no, you're done. I don't want you burning out. You're not working 7 days a week. I lived that life. It sucked. I don't want anyone to live that life. But, having the passion and wanting to help. And, my husband always says, you're going to retire, but you're not retiring. I was like, well, I'm going to retire from what I do every day. And then I'm going to go work for nonprofits for free.
I was going to say,
Because then I'm going to I'm going to build their nonprofits that I know, love, and trust. And I'm going to build them so they can keep doing good in the world.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I mean, it's interesting that that's something that you're passionate about because for me, and I tell this story a little bit too. So part of the reason that I started the podcast, right? Part of the reason that I went down this path is that when the mortgage market was slowing, right? So here I am, like I have this crazy house. I have a daughter that is very, very little and, needs a lot of protection because of, her whole NICU stay, whatever. And so I've got that going on. My industry is now collapsing, right? One of the, some of the worst years that they've had in literally like 50 years over the course of this time. So we're having these, horrible record years. And I'm like, why do I even do mortgage? Like why do I even do that? And so my answer was that I genuinely like helping people financially succeed, and owning a home tends to be one of the biggest wealth differentiators that there is. And so for me, that was kind of my why. That's what all of this was birthed out of. But the other thing that I talk about a lot, and that eventually at some point I will do, is start a nonprofit, because I actually want to ensure that we are going in to specifically inner school kids and teaching them about money and about credit and about how these things affect their lives and how they work. Because a lot of times what most people don't realize is that it is created way back when they are a lot younger. And if their family doesn't understand money and their family hasn't seen financial success and mastery, if none of that has ever been shown or shared to them, super, super hard to ask that person to come out of their station and succeed on the level in which they are capable of. Because they're capable. It's just a lot harder of a road, right? It's a lot harder to walk down this path and have that clear understanding or whatever. But yeah, I love that that's what your aim is to help those nonprofits, because there's so many of those nonprofits, like they're so needed. But it's hard. And making the dollars and the cents work is hard, right? Out of those spaces. And I love that. And so as we're sort of coming to a close, I know that if people are interested in working with you, learning more about stuff or whatever, that you kind of have an offer there. So tell the audience sort of what that is so they can connect with you.
Sure. So if they want to go to our website, gofigureaccounting.net, they can book a free 30 minutes with me. And we can talk about whatever it is that they want in life goals, how to get there. If we can help them, great. If not, I might be able to send them to somebody that can help them. And I'm happy to do it. That's what we're here for.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, guys, I mean, even if you aren't necessarily a small business owner, I think that is kind of where what they specialize in, but may necessarily, be worth a call to kind of figure out if there's some aspects there of what they can help you with, etc. Because like I said, so important to do intentional. And I know I'll be real, I get it because what she and I both do for a living, it is a scary thing. People do not love to talk to us because we are the necessary evil of life, I suppose, right? If you want to own a home and you don't have a whole lot of money in your bank account, I'm the necessary evil of that transaction. Just like if you want to run a successful business and you want to know where your money is going and paying your taxes and the IRS not coming to find you and hunt you down, she's probably a necessary evil to your situation. But when you find experts who actually really care about you and are not afraid to lean in and help you find financial success, not because we're trying to pad our own pockets, but because we actually care about where you're at and what we want for you. That is where you want to hang your hat with the experts because that is a totally different experience. I personally have experienced both many times in my life and in my career. And so make sure that you're leaning into that. So hopefully this episode of Financial Mastery Simplified was helpful for you. And we look forward to seeing you again next time on another episode of Financial Mastery Simplified.